Ow. Why is flying so hard? Flying in Anthem can feel a tad bit awkward, particularly when you play on PC using a mouse and keyboard. Given the action-packed nature of this game, constantly switching between controller and keyboard just doesn't seem like a good solution either. So for everyone who's willing to stick with their mouse and keyboard, I compiled a list of tips that are supposed to help you get the hang of flying in Anthem. But do note that this is not a mastery guide. The point of this video is not to make the next Iron Man out of you, but instead help those who have trouble making it work in the first place. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing you can do to combat flight problems is going into your settings. Ben Irving, lead producer for Anthem, suggested to turn everything up to 80% in the settings and then set to use smooth movements on your mouse as opposed to snap aiming when shooting, likely referring to tracking style aiming versus flick shots. While it would be fair for us to put into question why these settings are not on by default if they believe them to be the best for PC users, who knows, maybe whoever designed the system simply disagrees. I found myself feeling much more comfortable with these settings on. I'm not entirely sure if it's a placebo effect or not, but bottom line for me is that starting out with these settings when the basic ones feel awkward to you is a good starting point to work out the perfect settings combo for yourself. So again, I suggest starting with these settings and then tweaking them from there until they feel as good as possible to you. But even when keeping Ben's tips in mind, reminding us to use tracking style movement over radical flicks, it can sometimes be difficult to navigate your Javelin in the way you desire. This is no World of Warcraft where your flying mount answers to every move within a split second. Javelins have momentum and weight. They need time to accelerate and decelerate, which makes them more difficult to handle. Again, keeping in mind that this is not a mastery guide, but more about easy cheats you can use to get by, my tip would be to take advantage of your hover and jumping mechanics. You see, hovering is not only good for staying in the air to shoot. While traversing the map, you can quickly jump from flying to hovering to stop yourself from running into a wall when you find yourself losing control and getting panicky. You take heavy efficiency penalties by running into walls by accident because your Javelin doesn't just, gently bounce off of them. You go crashing down at top speed and it takes time to recover from that, making you considerably slower than potentially the rest of your team. So, if you have trouble controlling your Javelin, it's always worth stopping for a second to hover and avoid an obstacle rather than running headfirst into it while losing control. It gives you time to readjust and go again in a moment's notice. And this one simple tip made all the difference for me personally when I started playing Anthem. So I am sure that if you were struggling like I was, this is gonna make sure that you can stand in the ring while perfecting your flying skills. But in order for you to understand the next tips I'm about to give you, you'll need to know how your Javelin's flight mechanic functions. Javelins, being pieces of technology, do what all these kinds of things do. They create heat, much in the same way a car engine or a computer processing unit would. That means that it needs to be cooled down to work effectively, and if you overuse it, it's going to overheat and stop working entirely until it cooled down. As you have probably already figured out, that bar you see is not some kind of fuel indicator. It shows you how hot your jetpack is getting, and there are a number of ways to make sure that your flying effectiveness is staying at top levels. The answer to a lot of our cooling problems is water. Flying very closely to a body of water, zipping through waterfalls and all that kind of stuff allows you to fly longer. But you can also take advantage of air. If you find yourself at a very high altitude, going straight down allows your jetpack to cool down as the air quickly passes by the engine. Air and water are both commonly used to cool down a heck of a lot of things, not the least of which are your own computer components. So all these things are certainly rooted in reason. Now, another small tip would be when trying to fly down at a height that does not allow you to effectively cool your jetpack, you can simply stop flying and let yourself fall down. Falling does not do anything to add more heat to your jetpack, allowing you to stay airborne longer versus manually flying down. This is particularly useful when you let yourself fall down just above a pool of water, which again is going to assist in cooling down your engine. Needless to say that completely submerging yourself cools down your jetpack and you can essentially maneuver indefinitely. Just watch out for your oxygen levels. And when it comes to underwater sections in particular, I suggest not letting yourself fall into the water in an uncontrolled fashion. It can be very disorientating, so try to hover just above whatever pool of water you're about to dunk yourself into, and then go for a slower descent so that you don't lose orientation. To give you a few extra hints, there are a number of things in this game that combat your flying effectiveness. Certain types of enemies and environments feature webs that you will get caught into, having you crash down with no mercy. There are also mechanical types of enemies that can shoot high-powered laser beams which will instantly heat your engine to max, making a tactical retreat more difficult. Also note that all the javelins are traveling at the same speed, but offer different levels of maneuverability. That is really the only difference when it comes to flying. To my knowledge, all of them can be equipped with item pieces that offer bonuses to flying effectiveness. And lastly, always remember that Anthem is a highly mobile type of game. Flying, hovering, dodging, all these things are as essential to your combat experience as they are essential to your exploration, so make sure that you take advantage of it. And that's already all the tips that I could come up with when it comes to flying in Anthem. I really hope this video could help some of you guys out, and if I happen to miss any useful tips, please feel free to leave a comment down below and share your expertise with the other freelancers. While you're down there, don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.